We defined what IRR was, and we kind of were careful saying that there are certain circumstances that guarantees a unique solution, which means cash flows need to be conventional, which simply means none of the future cash flows are negative. We haven't defined, and we also kind of did little formula to calculate the IRR for us. But we haven't talked about what to do with that IRR number. So the IRR investment rule for standalone projects is simple, except if IRR is greater than discount rate or cost of capital. Reject otherwise. For mutually exclusive projects, accept the project with the highest IRR, provided the highest IRR is greater than the discount rate. Even with the mutually exclusive stuff, we want the project chosen to be acceptable on its own. Okay. One thing you need to be careful about when you're if you use the IRR rule to pick among mutually exclusive projects, IRR doesn't know anything about the scale of the problem. You may have two projects. One costs you $10,000, the other costs you $100,000, and $10,000 project has an IRR of 50%, and 100,000 project has an IRR of 20. Well, yes, you make more money per dollar. It's a rate of return number on the smaller project, but you make 20% on a project that is 10 times bigger. In those scenarios, when the scales are very different, the IRR rule and NPV rule may give conflicting decisions for mutually exclusive projects. When and if that happens, you always go with NPV. Okay. There's another criteria. It's called profitability index, and we're gonna abbreviate that to PI. That's essentially uh, present value of future cash flows divided by cost of project. We're basically asking the question, how much money do I get in the future per dollar investment I made? And it's easy to show that PI is equal to NPV divided by cost of project plus 1, where cost of project is negative CF0. So in that sense, there is no independent information that's not already contained in NPV, except this is a per dollar kind of measure. And PI rule is simple. for again standalone, except if pi is greater than 1. In fact, pi would be greater than 1 if and only if NPV is greater than 0. So for standalone projects, pi and NPV is going to give you exactly the same decision. Because if NPV is positive, you know for sure pi is greater than 1. And similarly, if pi is greater than 1, you know for sure NPV is positive. That's what if and only if means. If you say A implies B, if and only, that means A implies B, but B also implies A. I know you guys probably have never taken a logic class. In my high school, symbolic logic was a required class in our senior year. Fun class. For mutually exclusive, accept a project with highest PI provided the highest PI is greater than 1. I probably don't even have to tell you. PI has the, for mutually exclusive projects, PI has the same drawback as the IRR. It doesn't know anything about scale of the problem. It's a per dollar measure. So if scales are completely different, PI and NPV may give conflicting decisions. And if and when that happens, you always go with the NPV. And we can easily calculate it since we already know the NPV. Let me actually, I'm just doing that to get the formatting. 1 plus NPV divided by cost of project. Of course, nobody needs that many digits. That's good enough. Of course, in this case, it's less than 1, so you will not accept the project. That's easy to do. Now, there is another rule that's used quite a bit. It's called payback rule. It has two versions, regular and or discounted, or it's called payback period. It asks the question, how long does it take to recover your investment? If we make this calculation using the original cash flows, that's regular payback period. If we make the calculation using the present values of the future cash flows, that's discounted payback period. You probably should prefer discounted payback anyway. But we're gonna build calculations. To do that, first, I'm gonna calculate a column called running cash flow. This is basically cumulative cash flow. I'm for the year 0, that's just the original cost. And year 1, the previous running cash flow plus that year's cash flow. and calculate it all. Let's make this uh, a bit bigger. I'm just putting arbitrary numbers. Okay. Now, uh, in the absence of any other information, we're going to assume that cash flows within the year come at a uniform rate. So, which means to find out the cash payback period, we're going to find out in what year do we get to the positive in terms of running cash flow. In this case, that is year 3. Sometime during year 3, everything is paid off, then I start getting some extra.